Okay, well, thanks, everybody. We first need to remind people this program is being audio and video recorded. Welcome to the May 4th meeting. We've gotten everybody here, and we only have Kevin missing today. And the first item of business is the minutes from the March 23rd meeting. Those present and that can vote include myself, Tom, Kevin, Todd, and Ann.
I'm not a voter.
And Ann can't vote, so it's myself, Todd, and Tom.
I'm not a voter. Did he mention you?
She wasn't here.
No.
The last one. You're looking at the.
Yeah, the
I'm sorry.
March
I'm just
23rd
gonna,
one.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
No, you don't have to stop talking.
No, I apologize, I wasn't.
But I don't have any major issues with the minutes, so I don't know if Tom has any.
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes, March
Second.
23rd.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
The
Motion
meeting minutes are approved as written. Okay, the next item of business are the use of the rooms at Freeman Kennedy. Hopefully we've gotten some good news from
I ran into, the superintendent, and she did tell me, that we will be able to use the room across the hall at, which NCTV is currently using. I haven't, had an official word, but it was pretty, I mean, she was, it was a conversation with her, she was confident that that was happening. I talked to Tony at SAC. We're gonna go, once I come back, from my daughter's graduation, we're gonna go and visit the space, and we'll plan to use it for this summer.
and going forward. will
And
you still-
going forward, the summer is really the
That's the
critical
big
part for us,
Oh, good, so you got it going forward.
Yep.
Perfect.
so
And then-
that's terrific.
And I think we had previously looked at some other items that you might need in terms of storage.
For storage, so, I had priced out a couple, but I wanted to check on the gauge
Okay.
of the steel.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna do anything until probably
Okay.
June, because I wanna just see how it all
Yeah.
comes together. But if it's confirmed that we cannot use the closet inside the room, inside or off the room, then I will probably have to buy two more storage cabinets in addition to the two that I would buy for the hallway.
Okay.
But I really have to, I haven't
You
even
gotta
been in the
look at it
room,
first,
I have to
right,
look
sure.
at it,
Yeah.
I don't wanna, I wanna buy the right amount.
Right.
And then I did buy, a couple of locker dividers that work okay, but I got in touch with the manufacturer of the lockers. Their distributor, it's Republic Lockers, they have actually been bought out by someone else, so they're not making any shipments, but what I was asking for are the shelves that are in the lockers.
Okay.
There's already a shelf in there, so, they just came today, they found 7 in their warehouse, and I bought them. That was all they had left, and I said, you know what, 7 will work. And so they'll, and we'll figure out where they'll fit based on the materials that we have in those lockers. So, one might ask, like, why do I need to keep things in the lockers and in the hall? Depending, the room that we use now has the outdoor access, and we don't really want teachers going through the hall and then into another room if you're close to, you need to be as close to the kids as possible.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
but we'll sort it out once we
So
see
those
the
will come
room.
through when you take a look at the room and see what you
Yeah.
actually need. and
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good news. Thank you.
It is good news, it's great news.
Status of field openings. Obviously, one of the fields is open because I saw a lot of kids running around there yesterday. So,
You wanna give the status?
yeah,
Todd?
maybe Todd.
Sure.
can,
So all baseball, all softball fields have been opened. We have fields A at Pond Street open, field C in the back behind tennis courts is open. Fields at Freeman Centennial include field H and field J, which is closest to the railroad tracks. We also opened up the field in front of the school with the playground, which is closest to Boardman Street. We actually added that as a field this year. Current fields that are closed include Field B at Pond Street. We'll keep that closed for the remainder of the season. Tarps to come off tomorrow. And Justin and myself will review that area to see how that's going and address as needed. Field I, again, we'll have the tarps removed tomorrow hopefully, and I'll assess that field as well. And hopefully we'll be able to open up I and have some more access on I. Not 100% sure. And that's how we are. Field, we haven't even put a letter on it yet, but the field in front of the playground needs to be looked at because there's some areas that are a little bit choppy. There's some areas that are just the thick grass. I think once it gets mowed, that'll level off 3/4 of it. The other quarter of it probably needs to have a little bit of top dressing, but Justin and myself will probably be talking and see what needs to be done there as well as STS.
I sent the email not to STS but to DPW first for them to look at it and make
Okay.
suggestions.
Then Todd, do you see that recessed playground field being used going forward?
Yes.
Good. So it adds another.
I'd like to see, as part of fields that we had, gives us an option to close a particular
Yeah.
field
Right.
with the capacity that we had before.
Right.
And if we have all the fields open, that's just more capacity. But I'd like to see maybe one field closed per season, just so that we can rotate that
Yeah.
field and get it back to 100% and then put it back into use to kind of like do a good rotation.
Now,
See-
okay. I was going to say with Field B being closed for the summer, how long is it going to be closed?
It's closed for the spring. We may open it for the summer because the playground's got to go up there and we got.
Well,
the
that's what I'm
summer
gonna.
games.
Yeah,
It
I'm
should be
just.
fun.
I'm just.
Should be
Well,
fun.
that was the question because with all of the camps and things that are coming,
Correct.
obviously that would have a potential negative impact on
I think
Field A. So
I would anticipate if we stay off of it in the spring, especially when the irrigation turns on.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
should be, that's,
no, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
And that was another thing I was going to ask is what is the irrigation going to be turned on up at Pond Street?
I had talked to Norfolk Irrigation probably a month ago now, and they were talking that would be the first week of May, which is this week. So I haven't confirmed with them, but my email to Tom, I just let them know, and I've also let Tom know, so if they don't hear from him, they should be calling.
Okay.
Speaking of irrigation, when football was here, there were a lot of questions about irrigation and keys and things like that. Did we ever, bit to go off topic, did we ever figure out?
So I did talk to Norfolk Irrigation, and I was told Joe from football had called Norfolk Irrigation, and they asked them to open it up, and they actually couldn't open it up because they called while I think Mike Dunn was away,
Yeah.
but he did go over afterwards and make sure it was all set
Okay.
or something to that effect. So, and he was, he was a little bit hazy. He said, "Oh, you're asking me, 5-6 months ago,
Sure.
8 months ago."
Right.
So he said, "Well, they did call, but."
Do you let Jim know? Because Jim, I think his question was he didn't know who.
Well,
He wasn't
they
sure who
did
had
have
some-
Norfolk Irrigation turn it off, so they.
Well, wasn't the question who turned it on? I thought that their question was more who turned it on.
Yeah, I think that was he didn't know.
He didn't know. So clearly somebody from the irrigation did turn it on.
Well, no, they called Norfolk Irrigation to turn it on. They
Yeah.
couldn't get over as quickly as football wanted them to get over.
Yeah.
So they didn't turn it on. Someone else turned it on.
Okay, which we still,
And I was given the name Joe. I don't know who that may be, but,
all right, okay.
and
Okay.
you know what, it could have, I have notes on it, but.
Right, okay.
I would have had them in front of me, but,
Okay,
so I'm not sure who
Okay.
actually turned it on. When Norfolk Irrigation went back, it was already turned on.
okay, got it, thank you. Anybody have questions on the fields at all, or field openings? Okay, so the budget for 2016?
The budget for 2016, in the town budget, it includes my salary and benefits and Kathy's 14 hours of her salary. Recreation has to cover 20 hours of her salary, but I have been told that they will be covering any benefits, that we don't have to pay that portion out of the revolving account. And it also includes, a couple of $1,000s. So the budget number is 95,000, and it comes out that's a couple of thousand for a secretary for the commission, not a full-time secretary, a secretary for the commission,
So
part-time.
I said a part-time, yeah. And that has to obviously be voted on.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep.
So,
And it has to be posted, and wouldn't start before July 1st, and,
no, I meant the budget, but the position, obviously.
no, the position wouldn't start before
Right,
July
right,
1st. It
yeah.
has to be posted through
Sure.
Human Resources and
Right.
such, yeah.
So that actually, I think that closes the book, so to speak, on the question, because that was sort of an outstanding question in terms of Kathy's salary and benefits, your salary and benefits,
Right.
and then lastly was the
Right. We had asked that the
positions.
town pay for
Correct.
Kathy's,
Right.
all of her salary, and the answer is no, but they're paying for the benefits.
Right.
And they are paying for the benefits now, so it's not something that hasn't been covered.
Right. And then weren't we all? There was a question about some additional part-time, or is that something separate? The
Summer coordinator.
the summer
boys
coordinator
basketball
and the
coordinator.
boys
The
basketball.
summer coordinator is not
That
it's
comes
not
out
a
of-
position, it's for the preschool playground, preschool
Yeah.
programs.
And then
And just like all of our programs,
Mhm.
the fees
Come on.
pay for
Right.
the people that are there
Right.
to work at those programs. Now, that particular person has it's more organizational than teaching the kid,
Right.
working with the kids, but she works with kids, so if we need an extra person, or if
Yeah.
someone's out sick, she can do that as well.
Okay.
It was more of an organizational item.
Okay, so there's two under NCL. The first one is the picnic tables that are delivered to the Rockwood Road
I
Park.
sent a picture out to everyone. I don't have a picture here. I wish I did. They came out really nicely. They're nice and bright color. They're child size. There's a handicapped accessible one table, and there's another full-length table, and there's a square table.
Great.
And two of them have the Norfolk Community League on it. And not a plaque. It's as part of the top. So the preparations on top that go everywhere. It says that in it.
So thank you very much. And
Looks
NCL
wonderful.
for
Thank you
your
for
support.
NCL.
Kids
And-
will love it.
Yeah.
And adults too.
And in that vein, if you don't mind me just skipping,
No,
NCL has
please.
also been very generous. We had requested a $1,000 grant for the playground summer supplies, and they have given us that, which is wonderful. We run in the red for the summer playground program, so any monies that we receive for sponsorships and donorships and grants just goes right to the program. It's
So
great,
if
and it's
anybody else
wonderful.
wants to,
And
if anybody wants to
yep.
support or have a grant, please contact Ann or
Yeah.
the commissioners, and we'd be happy to get you in touch with the right people to do that. So.
We will have a sponsorship flyer going out, and the playground registration will actually start. The flyer's going to the school tomorrow for the school-age children, entering 2 through 6.
The CPC in the town pond, I know we've been talking a lot about the town pond, and Tom, do you have any update from CPC at all, or as far as we know, we're still waiting to have the that area looked at?
Yeah, we were, waiting for on the snow to melt,
Right.
and,
Which wasn't that long ago.
Right, yeah.
no, it wasn't.
So hopefully they can,
Oh.
get a, schedule some time to get a look at.
Was DPW gonna just go down with a contractor and look to look at that, or?
That's what the last we heard from Bob McGee is that he felt that he wanted to look at it with a contractor. And
Yeah.
I know that with the roads and such, and the snow really only being gone a month or so, I'm sure he's
Yeah.
behind, so,
I'm sure he is.
but we waited, you know, I'm sure he'll do it as soon as he has a
Another
moment.
month is going to
Yeah,
make any
right.
difference.
We'll get,
Let's put it that way.
right, yeah, well stated.
Yeah.
Or even 2 months.
Yeah,
The reservation policy at the pavilion at Pond Street and Rockwood. And you apparently have had,
We get a lot of
Number of
requests for the
requests.
reservation policy, and excuse me,
So before we go to that item, the two items that we were supposed to be talking about, open space, we'll
thank
just
you.
table those till next time.
right, yeah, exactly,
Okay.
thank you.
So we get a lot of requests to use the pavilion at Pond Street. So during the soccer seasons, especially on Sunday, it's very busy. I tend not, I let people know it's very busy. But we don't have a policy regarding use or a reservation, or we don't have a method to reserve it as well. And I just wanted to throw it out there. I'm not expecting any decisions tonight. What I have told people is if they feel that if they're going to have a larger group and they need trash pickup, then there is a charge because we have to cut, there's a service being provided. If they want to go on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock for a little child's birthday party, then that's it. Then I don't think that's a reservation type issue. But we get organizations, we get schools, we get churches asking if they can reserve the pavilion. So I just wanted to put it out there for you to think about, maybe look to see what other people do. I've actually had Plainville call me, and and it's interesting, I've had someone calling saying, oh, I can reserve the Plainville pavilion for $10. I've also had the Plainville, and I think she was a rec person or rec commissioner or person involved in setting the price, and she said, oh my gosh, we really need to charge more. So, because there is trash pickup, and we do need to power wash the floor this year. I mean, there is, when you have a big group and grills and things, it takes its toll a little bit. Now, if it's one of the soccer organizations or one of the baseball organizations that are already paying fees, I think it's all incorporated, and it's part of using Pond Street. But I think we should probably have a policy as if, just like we do with the fields, over a certain amount of people, what we charge. Do we expect people, trash in, trash out, just our regular policy?
Use the electricity.
Yep, use of electricity, which we have to pay for. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe at the next meeting, we could have that on the agenda to get some ideas. So we can have a set policy, so when people call, we know what to say.
Yeah, I think it's
Here's a brochure
Yeah.
and
Right.
agreement and all that.
Yep,
very reasonable.
yep. And I will say, someone asked me for, June 13th, I think, which is it was a Sunday, and with Lions going later this year, I said, you'll never want to be there. It's not gonna be a quiet time, you'll have lots of kids, and then there's also, like, do we close it? Do we close the playground that's attached to it? Do we close it to the outside? Do we keep it open for everyone? They're just things to think about. So no rush, but I thought I would put it out there for everyone to think about. And we actually had someone call and asked if they could reserve the tables and playground at the new Little Tot playground. And I did say no, and because it was a Saturday, and I said, I'm sorry, but it's open to the public, and I couldn't even begin to fathom how to stop people from being there or using.
Much too
That place
busy.
is packed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, it's interesting that place is packed, and, I actually thought by now that it would tapered off a little bit.
Drove by the
So-
playground yesterday, there wasn't a single parking space there.
Yeah,
You know what,
there was people parking on the street as well. last week.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
yes, so I guess we should be,
But
Yeah.
the Pond Street doesn't have anything for little kids.
right,
Like the
Right.
little ones,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, it's terrible for the little ones, so this new one, I think it's gonna stay busy.
yeah. You know, one thing to think about, and, you know, I didn't put this out before this, and I hope you don't mind me just throwing this out here, but because it is so busy, and I think there are a lot of people coming from other towns, which is fine, because a lot of times they come from other towns to visit with people in Norfolk. I mean, you have cousins, you certainly, you know, but, you know, perhaps we have a Norfolk only day. You know, perhaps Friday is for Norfolk residents only, or Friday mornings are Norfolk residents only. So, just
Good
something to
sign.
throw out there.
You can put the sign up, but I don't know how you enforce
Yeah, I
Well,
was-
actually, we have the
so-
senior, policy, you know, the senior working for their tax.
it. Mm-hmm.
And that would be a job because someone would have to check, but that could certainly be a job that could be done by
Okay.
a senior who gets a tax credit. And maybe it's not every Friday morning, but maybe we choose 4 days in the summer.
The first Friday of the month. Or
Yeah, something, just
Yeah.
because, you know, Norfolk taxes did pay for it, and,
I think if
I-
you were going to do something like that, it might be nice to do something in addition to having park access to do something, I don't know what, but not to just, I don't know, do something else in addition to that. I don't know what. I don't know.
you'll have some free time on
Ice
your
cream
hands.
truck,
You
I
can-
don't know,
there you go.
balloons, something,
Painting.
something, yeah,
There you go.
something.
Ken can face paint.
No, nobody wants me. No, and my daughter, not me.
I don't really encourage the ice cream truck.
But just something, you know, yes, Norfolk residents, but face painting, I don't know, something, you know,
The Hidden Valley Ranch truck.
yeah.
Carrots and
You
celery.
know, the
Right, we'll
fruits and
serve salad.
fruits and vegetable truck, I don't know, something
We
like
could think
that.
about, just think
Yeah.
about it. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem, it's, you know, actually thought it would taper off a little bit. And I did drive in, last week, and I got the last parking place. You know,
Do you think there are a lot of people just not from town there?
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's certainly people from town. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like, but there are, I mean, it's a very nice compliment that it's become a destination playground.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, people are welcome to be there. It's not that they're not wanted, but,
Just how do we highlight it for
But-
Norfolk residents?
yeah, but Norfolk residents paid for it, and, you know, it's hard to get a parking place, and they're getting frustrated because they can't get a parking place and it's in their town.
Yeah.
And maybe people seeing this will give us some feedback and let us know what they think about it. You know, maybe Norfolk residents think this is a great idea. Maybe Norfolk residents don't think this is a great idea. So
Yeah.
just some feedback would be wonderful. Just was something I threw out there. Not a decision, just an idea.
The banners at Pond Street?
So the banners at Pond Street that we used to have up, even though the account was set up initially.
They're up.
Yes, yes. Well, the banners are up. We are not collecting any fees for the banners right now. But the people that did support us with those fees, I mean, I think by having them up now, we're supporting them during our time of transition. So initially, we set up the banner account, and the town accountant set up the account, and it was part of the our revolving account. But then later, she said it shouldn't be part of the revolving account. That any advertising, the monies need to go into the general fund. So, okay, so we didn't have the banners up last year, really because we were told, I think at the end of, in March, it was kind of threw a loop into what we were doing and just didn't know how to figure it out. So I think Todd has talked to the DOR on this, and I called as well the other day because I had a couple of questions. So what happens is we can collect the money for the banners. It goes directly into the general fund. The interesting part is we used to use that money to purchase the banner. So we don't have that money. We're just depositing it into the general fund. We're only getting the money back later. And then in order to get the money back, we need to go to town meeting and ask for the money back. And we can track it and say this is what it's used for. And then it goes into an expense account that needs to be spent by the end of the fiscal year. So if we collect monies, say, starting in the spring, in the spring up until June, we can, then I think the best policy, because we need to spend the money in the fiscal year, is to ask for the money back at the fall town meeting. And then the fall banners, and then the spring banners, we ask a year later for money for the previous fiscal year. So it's, we're asking the fall meeting for the previous fiscal year. The tricky part is putting money out to purchase the banner. We can do it in a couple ways. We can have the company that wants the sponsorship to write a check to the banner company directly. We have not done that in the past because we have very strict guidelines, and we want to make sure that it meets the law, the bylaw, dictating what the banner needs to say and the colors, because there can't be a lot of colors. So we've always had control of that, because we certainly don't want to put anything up there or put something up there that doesn't meet the bylaw. Or we put the money out front, and we can use an expense account, which we do have $1,500 right now allotted for an expense account. We didn't have an expense account the year before.
And each banner is about approximately.
I haven't,
I
because
know,
we
just
didn't, so I
couple
would say
$100.
100, no, 100, yeah, not more than that. I mean,
Right.
probably $150.
Okay.
I didn't put them up last year, so
No, I know.
so maybe $150
Okay.
or so.
So we are going to go forward with, well, what are we going to go forward with?
So at
Because the
the-
banners are up there, do the businesses who have banners up there know that the banners are up there?
Not yet.
Okay.
So right now, I talked to Jack, and what I told him is that we'd like to go to a selectmen's meeting, and the next available selectmen's meeting is June,
Okay.
and tell them what
Tell
we're
them
doing.
we'd like to do going forward.
And if we get their support,
Yeah.
then we move forward with a plan. If we don't get their support, I think we should keep the banners up at no charge and say thank you very much to the people that are supporting us just by wanting to
Yep.
support us.
So those of the businesses that do have paid for banners in the past, you would be worth knowing that your banners are up, and we thank you for your support. If you'd like to provide a donation,
Right.
please do that, but I think the plan that you've set out seems reasonable.
And if the selectmen support us, which I would think
Hopefully they
would,
will.
yeah, then we can write to those companies and say, maybe this year is, optional or
Yeah.
however you decide. But I think we need to get more ducks in a row before we come up with an
There
absolute.
are a few that are a bit tattered.
Right, and that was part of that. If they
Yeah.
want to then we will buy a new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
If they renew, then we will buy a new one.
but for the most part, most of them look good, but there's just a few that.
Yes.
Possible repairs and improvements of Pond Street, so this focuses on the tennis courts and the basketball courts.
And
in
well,
the state.
so this time of year is when we make improvements, and we have the tennis courts and the basketball courts. The other thing we had talked about is putting a safety light up at Pond Street, so I wanted to follow up with that as well. And so the tennis courts are being painted, and the town is paying for that cost. There are some cracks on the tennis courts, so since the tennis courts are being painted, I would recommend fixing as many cracks as possible. More cracks did open up over this winter,
May I just-
surprisingly.
Sorry, Ann, can I just give a background? And the main reason why the tennis courts are being painted is because there was some graffiti that was put on the tennis courts, I don't know, towards the fall of last year, somewhere
It was
around
in the
there.
fall, it was widespread
Yeah, just giving people
and
sort of the
obscene.
background. Right.
So it's been just in case people haven't been there, which many probably haven't, we did just cover up the graffiti, and we looked into other possibilities as well. washing doesn't work, it takes everything off, so you cannot power wash. We actually can, we looked into that alternative, we looked into graffiti remover, we looked into a lot of other alternatives, and the only alternative really is to take off the graffiti, which takes everything off, then prime and repaint.
Sorry, back to
And
the
then, with that said, there's some, we've never done any repair to the basketball court. And so it's been, since it was actually built, it's probably been 16 or 17 years
Yeah.
since it actually went in. And those courts are not, the base was not done well. They shouldn't be cracking, but they are. They started cracking, soon after they went in, within a few years. But unfortunately, you can either, there are three options with wide cracks. It has to be, first off, safety first. So if there's any tripping or hazard or such, you have to either you have to fix it or close it. And then the other option, which is a very costly option, but honestly, painting and crack repair is also very costly, is pulverizing them and redoing the base and building them again. So when Pond Street, the 5.5 acres that we have at Pond Street now, and when we determine what 5.5 acres we want and the layout of that, if there's a possibility of moving, there may be a possibility of moving the tennis courts. There may not be. It just depends on the parking and the drainage design and such. But that's something that probably should be considered down the line, because if there wasn't graffiti, we wouldn't be getting them painted, but we need to get them painted. So the tennis courts should be repaired, because then we'll get another 5 or 6 years at least out of them before they really start to get bad again. So we're definitely buying a lot of years. The basketball courts, we've never put any money into it. They're, I think, over 300 linear feet of cracking. There are a couple of cracks that are very significant. One going across the one of the ends, will have grass growing up it. I mean, it's so wide. I mean, it's probably at least an inch wide. But they have said that we can pick and choose how many feet we want to repair. We don't have to repair them all. We're not painting them, even though I was actually going to look into seeing if I could literally paint them, get court paint, which you can buy court paint. It doesn't have to be perfect, but maybe I can, you can tell when they put the basketball court down, they did the same thing with the tennis court. They didn't line it correctly, so then they covered it up and they painted it again. So now that the second coat's coming off, so you can see the old lines as well as the new lines. When they first put the tennis court in, the tennis courts were crooked, the lines were crooked, and they it was a long time ago. We don't build things like that anymore. It was a low bid job. That's the way things were built in Massachusetts. It wasn't because we weren't, it wasn't because anyone was not doing what they needed to do, but it was a low bid job. So that's any other questions on that? I guess how many feet you want to, you're thinking of repairing, or how many, if you want to talk about that.
Well, I think, having looked at them, I think, Todd, you've looked at them, perhaps maybe not, but I looked at the tennis ones and looked at the basketball one. The basketball one has a fairly lengthy crack that there is a long crack that goes from the one end of the court to the other. But
Lengthwise,
it is, lengthwise, it takes the
cross-length,
entire length of the court.
Yeah.
So, I would, I think in terms of repairing it, since I would just repair it. And you've given some estimates in terms of the fee for repairing it, so, I think it's for the safety of people that are using it. And so they have a reasonably, nice place to play basketball and to play tennis. I guess I would be in favor of repairing it.
The tennis courts are used for match play, and
Right.
if you have a crack on a tennis court and a tennis ball, one of the cracks especially that goes the width of one of the tennis courts. If a tennis ball hits one of those cracks, going to significantly change the direction of the tennis ball. You really, there are not a lot that are that wide, but there are definitely some that are that wide.
How much is the basketball
Do you know what
court
it is?
used?
I think she said it.
You know, the basketball court is, actually, there's a lot of pickup basketball games. It's not like league play, like tennis, you know,
Yeah.
you have people going there to play their matches from different leagues. So
Right.
basketball's different, it's not league play. We certainly use the basketball court all summer long for the summer playground program. And usually when I go to Pond Street, it's not uncommon to have people playing basketball. It might be 2 or 3 people, but they are
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
And better courts, I mean, if you go to rent them, they have nice new courts and they're in good shape and they're used a lot.
And so that figure, what's the cost per square, per
One-
foot, or
$20.
$20, so that's about, we're talking about 5, how much to repair it?
It's-
5,
It's up
about
to,
$5,000,
yep,
so-
it's up to, yep.
okay. Just so people have a sense of what, I mean, how much it's gonna cost, so.
Mm.
But
Well,
I
it's-
think, as you said, I think it's necessary to repair. And I think we have it to repair, so. And when, I know we are in their system, when, do they have an idea when that would
They're
get
just
done?
waiting for us.
They're waiting for us, okay,
Yes,
good.
they were
Okay.
waiting for, I told them last Monday, so
Okay.
they, you know, another couple of jobs could have,
Okay.
they're,
All right, so we'll just,
So the crack repair for the tennis courts, they'll do up to X amount of feet, whatever the feet is,
Mhm.
times the $20 to get those done. That's
Mhm.
that's needed to do it because that actually is gonna be painted,
right,
Mhm.
so we have to do that. Basketball courts, we need to fix, there are some more than others.
Mhm. We can pick and choose.
So I would say that we'd probably definitely do the tennis courts, cause those gotta be done.
Mhm.
Cause you're not gonna wanna paint, then crack, then paint again.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense to do that. For the basketball court, we'll pick and choose, I would think, you know, the biggest ones
the big
first,
ones, yeah.
you know,
So
to address those.
I'm leaving for my daughter's graduation and I will not be back until the 18th of May. If they come beforehand,
I certainly have no problem going up there.
okay.
Me or Todd, yeah.
Okay.
either one. Happy to help. We'll
Until
both.
tomorrow.
Well,
I'll go hold your
Ken will
hand.
volunteer. Sure.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
know how to play basketball. No comment. Yeah, that would be great,
Okay.
so we stay in their
And they're
system,
happy
so
to, they're very good at what they do and they're happy to give.
maybe we can just put a mark on it and see.
You can't, you can probably spray paint it.
Yeah. And they're not gonna paint those though.
No, but they
so-
cover it up, I mean, they cover it up and
Okay.
it's best match.
Okay.
So they put
Fill the
it's
crack
called Right
and then-
Way,
Okay,
the repair system, and then it's a best match paint color.
Okay.
But because the paint is so faded, there's no question that people will be able to see the repair.
okay,
It's not,
It's a Mako job.
all right, they'll do a good job.
yeah.
Okay.
And the,
Oh, and the other thing, I just wanted to let you know what I'm sorry, that, the
Safety
safety
light?
light.
yeah.
So
sorry.
we had talked about, you know, how to prevent, you know, having a motion light and such. So, Bob Bullock from the building department is actually looking at putting in LED lights. And they got a sample light and he's working through lighting companies. So I've asked him, even though we started last year looking, you know, talking to people and getting our own estimates, I've asked him to incorporate the safety light at Pond Street in his quote out to people. And I've told him, you know, we've talked about, you know, how high it should be, maybe 16 feet, that can't be too high because you want it to shed
Trip.
light and
Right.
want it to trip.
Mhm.
So he is going to do that, and then one other option is, you know, possibly doing the same thing at Freeman Kennedy if you're interested. Just wanted to throw it out there. But he's going to have this done by June, so if you think that's something we might want to do, sooner, letting him know sooner rather than later is a good thing.
When you say go ahead, Tom.
No, go ahead.
When you say this done, he's
Well,
gonna have it will be
He's
installed.
working on his lights now. I don't know if they'll all be installed, but the
Okay.
contract will be in place and probably at least started.
Okay.
Oh, why wouldn't we?
What?
Why wouldn't we?
I.
That's the short
you-
answer.
You
Yeah,
can
that would be
I would
more
think-
difficult though, I mean, where would you put it at Freeman Kennedy?
You could put it
You'd have to
by,
put
They have
it
a
in-
big shed there.
by the big shed area, where
Okay.
that gets broken into, that concession area was getting broken into a lot, and
And then along
By
the
the
football
football
field,
field?
they
By the
have all
football
different,
field?
poles that they have out there.
there's an electrical pole right there.
Alright,
Yeah.
okay. I honestly, I was thinking a different area, so now I know where you were specifically thinking,
Well,
so,
there's lights all the way, both sides coming into the school itself.
yeah,
But going further out, there's not, unless you turn on the field lights.
okay.
Right, and they're only on for football.
So these would only be tripped if somebody was out there.
Yep.
So that, and this was the original idea was really about the no vandalism deterrent. That was the,
So that it was a vandalism, not an, it
we
was-
didn't have a vandalism deterrent.
right, it's for
That's, so that's
vandalism
really what the
deterrent,
lights are,
yes.
that's the purpose of the lights.
Right,
for
and at
people.
Freeman Kennedy, the vandalism in the past has been breaking into that
Okay.
shed.
So that, I mean, I think it helps people to know kind of why
And we
we're,
asked the
what we're
question.
thinking, so.
The cameras that are at the softball, are those, do
I
they work?
No, I don't know, I've asked, and I don't
Nobody
know
knows.
who's they, I have, someone probably knows, I just haven't asked the right person.
Okay.
Where are their cameras?
There's 2 cameras, one pointed down on so the softball shed, baseball shed, soccer shed, the 4-unit shed. There's a camera on the front when you're looking at it from the school. And there's a camera on the side. But we don't know
And
whether
there's a
they're
light.
active
Okay.
or not.
Okay.
And there's a motion.
Well, there's a light. Is it motion or is it just turn on?
Um, I don't know, I thought it was a motion light, but you know what, now that I'm thinking, I can only remember the LED part, so I
Okay.
could be wrong. But it's also, we're looking at putting a, 16-foot pole or high enough so it's, and a caged light, so it's.
Sure.
So do we need to do anything else?
I will let Bob Bullock know, and there'll be a cost involved, and he will let us know the cost.
Okay. I think it's,
And I might do that at the airport
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
please don't.
That's fine.
Well, I have to do it, I'm not gonna. So I'll do, yeah, that's,
I think
can-
that's a reasonable thing.
I think it's a great opportunity. He's quoting other
And it's gonna be the
lighting out,
lowest
and
cost
it'll
that we
be,
can
yeah,
get.
it'll be
Yeah.
the lowest possible price, and it'll be installed, and we won't be,
Looking around,
and
wasting our
he'll
time.
be Ron Bain is an electrician, and Bob certainly is more than knowledgeable, and they can make certainly a better decision than I, so.
Okay.
Incorporating land at Pond Street into the master plan, I don't think we're gonna,
I just
Hold
wanted
it.
to, once,
Okay.
so we have the 5.5 acre, we know we're getting 5.5, we can get 5.5 acres at Pond Street. We don't know what 5.5 acres. In order to get additional land, it has to go to it's special legislation. So before we decide what 5.5 acres we get or want, I really think it needs to be looked at by an engineering firm to make that decision to best utilize the 5.5 acres. They can look at the wetlands layout, they can look at where the wellheads are, they can look at the drainage, they can look at everything.
Yep.
I think it's important that we do that before we say, this is the 5.5 acres we want. We can certainly show them what the state has given to us and said, this is where we can fit in this field, and this field, and this field. But they can look at it, I mean, there's a Department of Corrections wellhead that we need to stay away from. There's considerable wetlands that come in fingers. So there are definitely dry areas. But and the wetlands have been delineated, but having the exact measurements and such done should be done by an engineering firm. That's my opinion. And I would like to call Gale Associates and ask them if they can give us a proposal to do that, if you're open to that.
anybody have any?
I agree to it before we start putting money into it. I want to know if it's going to be buildable.
Yeah, and also what's involved in building, because there are hills and there are hills and valleys, and
Mhm.
they can give it, and with this, they can give an estimated cost.
Yeah,
Sounds smart.
Because I think we've seen some sort of proposals for additional fields and things, but I think it does make sense to have an expert.
I think we
Take
need
a
an
look at it.
engineer.
They'll be able to do that for free, I'm assuming, or not? Gale Associates?
I'll ask them.
Will favor.
I don't think it, I think there might be a cost
On the low
involved.
side.
Heavily discounted.
Hopefully. And just one other thing that, along with the possible repair improvements at Pond Street, I just mentioned to I think along when we were talking about the courts there was also, some vandalism to the base of the skate park, but that was nice, that was a pretty picture, so it really wasn't vandalism. But the skate park equipment is, definitely worn. There is a bar that has come loose and actually is off of one piece of equipment. So I just want to let you know that I've taken pictures and I have emailed it to the manufacturer, and I'm waiting to get their recommendations as far as repair, closure, etc. Again, it's the safety first, so I don't know if it can be repaired. I don't know if they're replacement parts. So I haven't heard back yet, but I have taken those pictures and I have emailed them.
Great, thank you. So the last item of business actually is sort of come up in the, somewhat recently.
Can I just make one comment about this, just because it's not on the agenda?
Yes.
And so I just wanna, you might wanna add that it's come up within, there wasn't a 48-hour window. So based on the open meeting laws, because it's something that you had no knowledge about,
Correct.
within the 48-hour window, that's why you're addressing it, and it's not on the agenda, which you can do that.
Right, do I need to repeat that?
No, but I just wanted to let people know in case they were
No,
wondering.
no, I
It's a
appreciate it.
new, it's a new development.
Right, so it's a new so what was brought to my attention today really was, one of our commissioners is not here today. And there was a article that I think described some of the issues that the commission has been experiencing since the election of Kevin Doolan. I think, we've sort of experienced some of the behavior here at the meetings, and it's been, although at times it's been very cordial, there have been other times where it's been quite frankly very uncomfortable, I think, for all of us that have been part of the commission to work with Kevin and conduct the business that we're trying to do for the town in a cordial and efficient manner in terms of trying to get along. Kevin brings a lot to the commission, but I think some of the difficulties that we have are because of his behavior, quite frankly. We've all experienced it. I think if anybody wants to describe things, they certainly are willing to do that. But based on my experiences and I guess my ability as the chairperson, I would like to make a motion that we take a no confidence vote of Kevin Doolan. The town does not have a ability for us to ask for Kevin's resignation, and certainly as an elected official, Kevin certainly has the right to stay on the commission and serve out his term. But we've been told by the town manager and others that we cannot take Kevin's seat away from him. So to have this on record and at least other commissioners can certainly speak up, or someone can second the motion if they'd like, but again, I'd like to repeat it. I'd like to propose a motion of no confidence vote in Kevin Doolan.
I'd be willing to make a second on that motion.
Is there any discussion?
Do you want to refer to the article,
We certainly,
in case people want to?
if people are not aware, there was a letter written in the Gazette, I believe on Friday,
May 1st.
May 1st, that describes some of the run-ins that Kevin has had, for lack of a better word, run-ins. I think that was used in the article. Certainly his, describing his run-ins and other behavior that, you know, I personally find to be abrasive at times. Despite the fact that he does ask good questions, I think the abrasive nature of his behavior makes it very, very difficult to get work done and to stay on the agenda, quite frankly, because we oftentimes get off the agenda and talk about historical things which really have no relevance to the business that we're at hand. And quite frankly, one of the reasons why these meetings are now televised is really because of some of the ongoings at the meeting. So we felt that would be a way to mitigate some of the behavior, but I think we've all experienced it. It's detailed in the article, and those that are interested can certainly read the article. But is there any other discussion before we take our vote? So all those in favor of a no confidence vote in Kevin signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So I think what we can do is
Unanimous vote?
unanimous vote, and we can have this in the minutes, and
Mhm.
we can certainly add the article to the minutes.
Okay.
And I think we are adjourned, except for deciding when our next meeting is.
Okay.
And thank you.
All set. Thank you.